The Carson Wentz era in Indy is upon us. At least it will be pretty soon. But the question is, what will this look like? Can Carson Wentz actually get back to his MVP form under his former offensive coordinator, now head coach Frank Reich? Well, the details of the trade weren't exactly what the Eagles thought they would necessarily get for Wentz. The Colts receive, of course, Carson Wentz. The Eagles receive a 2021 third-round pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick, depending on how Carson Wentz plays, could become a first-round pick. Welcome back, Danny Kanell, Will Brinson. Danny, I want to start with you on this as a former NFL quarterback. Carson Wentz, what can we realistically expect with him there in Indy?
Man, this is going to be one of those stories that we're going to be following all season long. And the question is always going to be, can Frank Reich bring back the Carson Wentz that was in 2017, that was so phenomenal, that everybody was so excited about, and even the one that the Eagles decided to pay this massive contract to? I don't think Carson Wentz's problems have to do with any physical limitations. It's all here. It's all between the ears. Now, you'd say, hey, great. Well, Frank Reich makes a lot of sense. Former quarterback in the NFL, played a lot of football, should be the perfect guy to help kind of bring him back. Well, didn't he have that? Doug Peterson, former NFL quarterback who was a backup the majority of his career, that you would think would know how to handle a quarterback mentally and build up his confidence. So to me, I think the critical component is how those first 4 to 6 weeks go. If Carson Wentz gets off to a fast start and things are going well and he kind of, has some success, then I think you could carry some of that momentum in. But Carson Wentz has to show me he can deal with adversity, both on and off the field. I think for the first time in his life, he was getting booed and he was getting criticized, and he had a player who came off the bench that actually played better than him, and it questioned his status in the locker room. And I think he really, really struggled with that. I think mentally, he's got to show a little more mental toughness as the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, if Frank Reich can mold that and develop that, then I think you might have, there's still a question mark there, because Carson Wentz has a lot of bad habits on the football field outside of the mental issues of his confidence being shaken. He still tries to do too much, plays a little hero ball, gets loose with the football, tries to force it sometimes. So you've got a multitude of issues that Frank Reich has to address with Carson Wentz this offseason, where I get the excitement around it, and it makes a ton of sense for both parties. For the Eagles to part ways, and it makes sense for Carson Wentz to go to Frank Reich. It makes a lot of sense. I think it could work, but I'm not ready to buy it just yet. I think it might take some time, and there might be some bumpy patches along the way. So I'm not as bullish on this immediate impact that you're going to see Carson Wentz make in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you listen to what we said about the Titans, you probably have an idea about how we feel about the Colts, and Danny and I are on the same page. I don't want to suggest that Carson Wentz's 2017 was a mirage, but he averaged less passing yards and had a worse completion percentage and had a lower yards per attempt than Phillip Rivers last year. Why is he had a completely unsustainable touchdown rate, 37.5%, 33 touchdowns in the games he had before he got injured. The assumption that Carson Wentz is going to magically become 2017 Carson Wentz because he's now back with Frank Reich is some sort of cockamamie scheme that lunatic Eagle fans have cooked up in their heads and that Colts fans are hoping for. Look, this is a good gamble by the Colts. They're not coughing up a lot to try to get Carson Wentz. He's a former number 2 overall pick with a great pedigree. He was playing great in 2017. But like Danny said, you have to be concerned about the mental aspect of this. I mean, he was clearly distraught by the fact that Nick Foles brought Philadelphia a title. He signed this extension, and then he gets completely ripped apart in the head when they draft Jalen Hurts. Those are legitimate concerns. I mean, you have to. Look, I couldn't be. I mean, I'm mentally tough. Probably not mentally tough to be an NFL quarterback. And Carson Wentz, very mentally tough, but you're going to have to be tougher than that if you want to survive in this league. And it's just a concern right now. Do I think he could bounce back and have a good year? Yes. Is it possible the Colts win the division and make a deep run? Sure. Why not? Frank Reich's an awesome coach. Chris Ballard's put together an awesome roster. But like Danny, I want to reserve judgment for a team that's losing its number 1 wide receiver, losing its left tackle, and maybe losing some pieces on the defensive side while trying to integrate a new quarterback who looked like one of the worst signal callers we've seen in the NFL last year.
All right, well, so let me ask you this.
One quick follow-up. I did want to say something real quick about Philly being a bad spot for Carson Wentz. That fan base, the radio, local radio, local media are one of the nastier fan bases. I mean, I got batteries thrown at me when I was the quarterback of the New York Giants when we went into Philadelphia. Indianapolis, now they're a passionate fan base, but I do think that his kind of the perception of him, the reputation as a good kid, he's like a good Christian guy. I think all that fits better in Indianapolis. So maybe he's embraced more by a new place that's going to applaud him right away. And he has a lot more positivity around him than the negativity he was dealing with in Philly. So that another kind of bright side for Carson Wentz, where you could see some optimism around him going in there.
And hopefully,
yeah, just to extend, I mean, it's like basically, sorry, not to jump back in, Amanda, but like before he's going out and he's getting a Geno's cheesesteak thrown at him because he's completing 50% of his passes. Now he can go out, no matter how he plays, somebody's buying him some of that spicy shrimp cocktail sauce at St. Elmo's.
Are we good? Any more follows? We're good now? Okay.
No, we're good.
All right. So both of you are, I mean, basically here's the thing is like there is some hope for Carson Wentz, but he needs to get back to that form, but he also needs help. So let's talk about that help he needs. Will, we'll start with you here. You mentioned some of the players that they could potentially be losing, the Colts. So what else do they need to help Wentz, to help this team?
Well, look, I mean, their defense has some issues in terms of, losing some edge rushers. Danico Autry and Justin Houston will be free agents. But I think more important than anything for them is getting the offensive line and the wide receivers and the tight ends prepped for Carson Wentz. I know that, there you go, two of Wilson's needs are on there. I think offensive tackle and wide receiver are huge.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.